So, welcome back, friends. We will continue from the previous topic, that is decision-making process, in which we have already discussed, of course, that is decision-making process is step number one. And now we will proceed with the other step. But before proceeding to other step, we will be at least recapitulating the things, restructuring the things, and just revising the step one once again. As we have discussed that the basic first step in decision-making process is identifying the problem. And related this, we have already discussed the following points for identifying the problems. Like, first of all, which event or phenomena inside a process recognized as a problem? The first thing is that. And then it will be listed or marked, or it will be recommended as a we call problem. So what is the criteria for that? That whenever a discrepancy occurs in a process from its predefined standard and desired state, and whatever happening in the process in the present scenario. So whatever existing process is working, and if it is not matching with its standard, with its desired state, then this phenomena recognized as a problem. Okay, fine. Then before declaring a problem as a problem, we must be very particular. We must take cautions that rightly we are identifying a thing as a problem, rightly we are marking a phenomena as a problem, which is a subjective for decision making or for finding a solution. Okay. So number one, that make sure it is a problem and not just a symptom of the problem. That we have a kind of understanding that if some deterioration in the system is occurring due to some external or internal factors, not in the process inside itself. That means some malfunctioning is being observed in the outcome of the process. But this this deterioration, degradation, or malfunctioning is happening due to some external reasons, cofactors. Like as I told you that if there is a very haziness in the output of some printout, which is a printout is a result generating process. And with the result generating process, some information or output or result may be printed. But the output printed on hard copy is showing not clearly printing, but it has some haziness in the printing. Then what will be situation here? That means there is no problem inside the process, but it is an external factor. The toner may need a refilling. There is something wrong with the ink of the printer, and that's why it is giving some haziness in the output, incompleteness in the output. So this cannot be treated as a problem in the process of output generation. This is the point. That is not a symptom, but it's really a problem. It has to be decided in this way. Problem identification is a subjective, that is also very important. That means we cannot predefine something that we are going to justify a particular phenomena or particular happening as a problem. We should not do like this. But what we should do, that what we can do, that We should keep this problem identification as a subjective. That means the process of identification will decide whether it is a problem or not problem. So there should not be any prior bias or prejudice in this situation for declaring happening or declaring a phenomena as a problem. Discrepancies can be found by comparing current result with some standard. That is the first point, also telling the same thing, that if we take a discrepancy as a criteria, that means we must be very clear that whatever this process required to deliver a predefined standard output, and if it is delivering something wrong from the predefined standard, by comparing the delivered output with predefined standard, if some discrepancies are there, that will be recorded as a discrepancy for declaring a phenomena as a problem. Then managers are likely to characterize a discrepancy as a problem if they perceive that they don't have the authority. Here it means that even though managers, those who are not authorized to make a statement of problem, they should simply highlight the discrepancy. They should simply highlight the malfunctioning of the process or degradation of the functions. But they will not declare that there is a problem 1, 2, 3, 4 in this process. They will not declare as they don't have the authority for it. So information and other resource needed to act on it. That means they will simply deliver these information on the other people concerned who are responsible for making a declaration regarding this as a problem. Okay. Now, for a problem, there are some questions to be asked. And depending on the answers of these frequent questions, it will be decided whether the existing phenomena will be recorded as a problem or it is something else. Like if really a problem occurs, then where it is occurring, then when it is occurring, how it is occurring, and who are concerned with this problem and what exactly the problem. Thereafter, there will be a question that why problem has arisen, the reason for the problem. So this kind of question may be raised to collect the answer for this question, which will help to decide that whether a phenomena is a problem or not for identifying a problem. And these questions will be asked by stakeholders with the people involved in the process, or with the answers from the people involved in the process. It will be decided whether it is a problem or is not a problem, it's something else, or if it is a problem, then what is the possible solutions. Now, step number 2, identifying the decision criteria, risk and uncertainty analysis. So what is this point significant about? If you see that selecting some existing phenomena of degradation or the reason of malfunctioning of some process or system cannot be declared on the basis of intuition of the peoples, or people cannot declare it as a problem on ad hoc basis, on the basis of their own concepts, on feelings. There should be a very clear scientific method based on some specific criteria, and with the process of testing with the criteria, comparing with the criteria, it will be scientifically decided whether it is a problem or not, and if it is a problem, then what kind of solutions to be addressed for this problem. Okay. So now they have to select a decision criteria. Suppose they have collected the answers of related the problem, they have collected some degradation in the process. Now, for testing it, whether it is a problem or not, they have to decide a criteria or factor, which is required to identify it, which is required to identify it as a problem, and also which is helpful to proceed with a solution based on decisions for providing as a solution. So to take the decision on the identified problem, again the people have to decide some criteria, and these criteria should be relevant with the context of the problem, and the basis of these decision criteria only decision can be made for providing a foolproof solution. Okay, fine. So there are some points classified that if we have a criteria for decision making, then these criteria must include some of the listed point of concerns, like cost that will be incurred. Means after implementing this decision, what are going to be additional investment on the existing business process? Risk likely to be countered. That means in spite of all checking and testing, in spite of all kind of analysis, if due to any reason the implementation of the decision is going to result in a failure, then this risk factor is up to what percentage level? If the risk factor of failure is still having the higher percentage level, then the decision implementation will be put on hold. If the cost involvement is very large, then again the decision implementation will be put on hold. Unless these factors are properly tuned, confirmed, then only decision can be implemented. Third point is of course associated with the preceding these 2 points, but is very important in terms that as a consequence of the decisions, the business will get a growth in comparison with the existing business level. The business will get a profitability enhancement. So that means the outcome of implementation of the decisions is desired, that it will bring the business in a better level. It will enhance the performance of the business. It will enhance the profitability of the business. If it is ensured, and including above 2 points also, then it is fine. The decision can be implemented, no problem. But if anywhere in these factors there are chances or risks are still being observed, then decision must be put on hold, and again reanalysis is required, that whether this decision which we are going to implement is appropriate or some other decision has to be taken. This is the main concern of this points, identifying the decision criteria and implementing it. Now, step number 3, allocating weights to the criteria. Okay. What it means? As you know, allocating weights means giving support to a particular course of action. And if the criteria is being met for implementing the decision, taking the decision, then how much support or positivity, or how much positive frequencies are there with the criteria, how much we can say the risk minimize factors are there in the criteria, selected criteria. So that is the concern of allocating weights to the criteria. So decision criteria are not of equal importance. That's why assigning a weight to each item places the item in the correct priority order of their importance in decision making. What it means, suppose there are some alternatives given for decision making criteria. That decision can be made with alternative A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. Then allocating weights means people will add or count measures to these criteria for decision making. And the number of measures is higher in whatever criteria or alternatives or the options that will be taken with maximum weights. And the criteria having the maximum weights will be very suitable for decision making criteria, as it will be foolproof in comparison to other criteria which is having the lesser weights. Okay, so each possible solution must have features or pros and cons, and managers should score the criteria according to the need of the situation, because every criteria have some risk factor. We cannot overrule it. We cannot say that criteria A1 is having zero risk factor and criteria A2 having 50% risk factor. This is not the way. Every option, every criteria or proposal or alternate presented for decision making to be selected as a criteria, every criteria must have some level of risk in it. There may be some lesser risk percentage, there may be some higher risk percentage. And now, as a manager, as a management, as an analyst, people have to add the weights to various criteria, which is the scoring the criteria. And according to situation, they will score the selected criteria that it is having like 5 positive points, 7 positive point, 8 positive point, and others are having suppose less positive point and more negative points. So with these negative and positive points, the criteria should be weighted or scored, and by measuring the number of positive points in a criteria, which may be higher than other options of criteria option, will be taken suitable for decision making. So this way, particular concept may be this may be understood with this situation, that if the proposal is presented with variables like A, B, C, multiple solutions are ready, available. Solution means multiple options are ready with the selected criteria for taking decision. So solution will be decision A, decision B, decision C. Either of these options can be taken. So manager, it is advised you to select a viable alternative and could also resolve the problem at this point. We are just listing, not evaluating the alternatives. That means the analyst in the step 4, developing the alternative, analyst gives the alternative for criteria selection, for decision making, and these alternative must be carefully evaluated by the decision maker, and they should decide that whether out of these which one is will be perfect and optimum for decision making. So these options are not recommended for all for decision making. These are being listed only as an alternative. Okay. Hmm. So decision making will be step number 5, analyzing the alternative. And now analyzing the alternative means appraising each alternative strengths and weaknesses. An alternative's appraisal is based on its ability to resolve the issue identified in step 2 and 3, as we have discussed already. Now, on the basis of those points which is discussed in step 2, 3, These alternatives will be, as we talk, will be given some weightage, will be given some score. And these scores or weights will make visibility of the strengths and weakness of each alternative. And then by observing and recommending based on the strengths and weakness of alternative is analyzing the alternative. Is it is the time that the decision maker should analyze whether I will go with the recommendation of option A or alternative A, B or C, or some alternative have clear directive. No, it cannot be selected. Yes, it can be selected. And there may be some alternative which have some confusive states where the decision maker are not sure whether it is yes or no. They can come up with like maybe situations. So evaluating all these situations from the available alternatives and before selecting them for implementing their decision, it is their time that they should analyze this alternative. Here we are talking about the weighting criteria, scoring criteria, then analyzing these alternatives means analyzing these particular available options for selecting as a criteria for decision making, or simply selecting the alternative given by the analyst to be selected for decision making. So once you allocate weights to them, once you allocate score to these alternatives, like 5 alternatives are there, and after putting the weights on these alternatives as a decision maker, once you analyze the whole scenario, then on the basis of their score, the measures inside it, the best one will be selected, which is having the higher level of weights or higher level of score. So that will be result of your that is the result of the decision makers analysis, or the analysis of the available option or alternative. Here comes the decision maker comes to a final stage that out of given 5 suggestions, 5 alternatives, which one they are going to select for using in the decision making implementation. And that selection will be done on the basis of higher score allocated on the alternatives. So the alternatives having with higher score or with the higher weights will be selected as best alternative proposal or option or criteria for the decision making. Is it clear? Okay. So now how people are reaching for decision making process, because sometimes it is being felt like people can make a decision on their own knowledge, on their own intuitions. So that is not the scientific process. The scientific process of decision making involve lot of things, lot of steps, and that we are making discussion about all these things. Okay, so we reach up to step number 6, where we have got the finally selected an alternative which you are going to recommend the decision, which we are going to dictate the decision, or which we are going to put the decision in actions. Okay. And this selection is done on the basis of higher score in the alternative, higher weights in the alternative, which is showing minimum risk factor and foolproof, minimum risk and maximum outcome, which is ensuring that the result will be 100% assured and the risk is very minimum. That is the higher level of criteria. So that will be selected for decision making. Okay. Now comes to the step number, as we have already said, there are 8 steps. Now comes to step number 7, implementing the decision. Here also, sometimes people will feel that implementing means what? Now, okay, just simply declare it or simply publicize it. That maybe seems that implementing, but is it like this? No, it has also a systematic process. So implementing the decision will come after selecting the alternative. When you are sure that alternative, we have selected the alternative you have selected and going to take decision on the basis of this criteria or alternative or option is a foolproof, is having the highest positive factor, minimum negative factor. Then it is time to implement your decision. So putting the decision into action by conveying into those affected and getting their commitment to it. So what the lines written here have a meaning for you in terms of decision making implementation. As you know, the people are working that what decision will be right decision, what decision will be foolproof decision, and what decision will be beneficial for the organizational interest, which is going to enhance the process of the organization, performance of the organization, and profitability of the organization. So once this thing is resolved, one decision is ready, and people have decided that we should go with this decision. Now it is time to implement it. So what the meaning of implementation is simply, if it is an order, if it is a rule, if it is a change in infrastructure, whatever may be the decision, it will be simply put in action. That means it will be broadcasted, it will be communicated, it will be addressed, no? Or it will be issued like a circular or order, anything. To whom? To those who are concerned with this decision. And for what? So that from next moment, they should be working with the new guideline of the decision, and their commitment to the newly adopted decision will be ensured. So if they are doing something wrong before the implementation of the decision, they should stop it. And now onwards, they should follow the new decision guideline and function accordingly. The second point, as it is dictating, implementing a decision requires a step-by-step course of action as well. And it is advisable to create a framework for action, inform all stakeholders of the final decision that has been made, and execute, in fact. Okay. So this is also happened that a decision cannot be communicated or implemented or put in action in a single step, like a big bang theory. No. For implementation also, there are various methods, like some changes has to be made in the process, changes in the infrastructure, whatever may be. There are some implementation method, as you might have learned in your system analysis and design, like parallel implementation, where you will encourage the people that they should work on their previous models also, and parallelly they should work with the new model also, and compare by every day at the end of the day. And if the new model is getting satisfactory functioning, better functioning, then from the next session, next day, they will stop in the old model, the parallel implementation. Then another is a phase-wise implementation. They can select step-wise step, means that they are going to communicate the decision in different parts. So one decision will be implemented with one department of people. Once it is successfully implemented and executed, then other department will be asked to implement. Then so on, next department. The phase-wise it may be implemented. So this is the step by step. And all the stakeholders should inform about the final decision, means not only worker and employees, but the clients of the company will also be made aware about the decision. So there should not be any confusion about the process change in the business, and there should not be any chaos. So, in fact, execute, when we say, so execute means implementation. So once you implement something, it is executed. So this is clear. And now the last step. This is called the post-implementation review. This is part of system analysis and design also, as you might have studied in your earlier courses. Whenever we implement something new after a rigorous testing and revision and analysis, with all care and attentions, with foolproof plannings, even then we cannot simply leave it by after implementing. Means that if we have started a new water pump, and once it is started and started delivering the water, we cannot leave the site that, okay, now it is functioning, it will remain functioning. No. So after implementing any decision in the business process, it is time that you should come up and evaluate. That means after post implementation, you keep reviewing it and find out that all decision has taken with the current context, with proper and adequate measures, and it is impacting the business on the same direction, in the positive direction as it is estimated and desired before implementing the decision. Okay. So evaluating the outcome or result of the decision to see if the problem was resolved, first of all. So whatever problem was existing, it is resolved or not, that will be evaluated. And if the problem is still persist and due to any reason, immediately or after some time, if problem is still found or randomly problem is occurring, that means your decision implementation has been taken in a wrong way, and now you have to rethink, you have to change your decision, and you have to go for reanalysis, and you have to re-implement the decisions. So this is the benefit of evaluating the decision effectiveness or post-implementation review, whatever we call. So friend, this is what for today decision-making process in PGDM, 6th trimester. The course is data visualization for decision making, and we will see, and we request you to attend the next session of the video on a different topic. We come up in the next session. So thank you for attending it.